Yo, welcome to the Table Talk podcast, where we sit down, pull up a chair, and we get started. This podcast is designed to provide you packed full of information to help you with your training, nutrition, lifestyle, and well-being, where we interview myself through case studies to give you lifetime experience. And then we also interview high-performing individuals or other career-focused people who are looking to make changes in their lifestyle, training, nutrition, and well-being. So let's pull up that chair and let's go. Welcome back to part 2 with Kathy O. So if you've listened to part 1, this is the episode before. If not, jump on that episode. This podcast, Table Talk, is where we pull up a chair and we go deeper into Kathy O part 2, where a lady, pretty much just a person, I would say, doesn't matter gender, she doesn't fucking care, honestly. She has a mission, which is to help as many people as possible and really just to educate people on the lack of information that's out there. She, from when she started her journey to now, we're halfway, which is when she got implants. There wasn't really anything there. And there were things that were amiss for Kathy. She didn't feel right, but just trusted people, had her back, and found out over time that wasn't really the case. But from personal experience, she's taken action and initiative, and we're here to dive into that story. Not the specifics, because we're still just on the journey of who Kathy is, and we're up to now where she started. As you can imagine, she was given feedback in a career that she was told, you have too much energy, too much ambition, too much enthusiasm. She's like, okay, well, I'll just go take it elsewhere and go dominate. So we're up to that part. I think you're about 23, Kathy.
Yeah, I would have been about 23 or 24 when this happened. And, I hadn't decided yet to dominate. I was
just top dog.
At this point, I was scared, Carl. I didn't know what was happening. I really wanted that job at the hospital, but it wasn't meant for me. And I didn't know what to do with this feedback of, you have so much enthusiasm and passion, you need to use this somewhere in public health space. I didn't know what to do with that. So I went back to Sydney and I started private practice, or I focused more on the private practice that I was also simultaneously running. And I kind of got to know myself better as a practitioner through private practice, because I noticed that I was practicing different to what I was taught at uni. So I started to feel that I was a bit of a oddball. I was a bit of a mismatch for my profession. I just had this conversational style, really friendly. It really broke down, I got rid of those barriers of that clinical approach, which was what we were taught at uni, the ABCDs, the structure. This is the information you need to get out of your client, and this is how you help them. This is how you educate them. I kind of mixed and matched and just went with whatever flowed at the time, and really delved deeper into who this person was. And I credit the research that I did. So in my final year of uni, I did a research project. My thesis was all about overweight obesity, and it was all about the causes of overweight obesity and the perceptions or bias that students and dietitians have. So what I found was that most dietetic students and most dietitians actually have a bias towards overweight, obese people, really thinking that they're just lazy, that they're eating too much and not exercising enough. So really disregarding the complexity of this disease, and it is a disease, disregarding all the different things that may lead to it, the causations, and not really understanding how to treat it for optimal and best outcomes. So this is where I actually read a whole lot of articles about the client-centered care approach, or the patient-centered care approach, putting the client or the patient, the person, at the center of the treatment plan and really understanding them as a human being. And yeah.
Hang on. So you mean to tell me the approach is, you're a person? Yes. Okay, cool. Can you just step to the side and we're going to do this, this, this?
So it's really, this is actually encouraging less of a clinical approach So dietetics, as I said, it's all in hospital. It's very clinical. It's very ABCD. It's very acute setting. There is a time and a place when we need to be clinical. When you have a person in an acute situation, you need to make decisions fast. You need to know what's going on, right? You need your ABCDs. However, with overweight, obesity, if we are to treat it successfully, and this will be treated in the outpatient setting, so not in the hospital setting, not when you're in an acute setting, but in the outpatient setting where you have more time with the person, you want to understand the person. It's about actually not labeling this person as overweight or obese. It's about getting to understand and getting to know this person for who they are and what has led them down this path. How did they get here? Being really curious about what happened to you. So suddenly, this is where kind of client-centered care approach, health coaching, and wellness kind of started to all merge for me. And this is how I started to understand that I'm practicing different because I read so much about these client-centered care approach. I was seeing that I was practicing different in the outpatient setting in private practice. And then COVID happened and I found health coaching. So I went on to study more. So I actually am an accredited health coach as well, health and wellness coach. And this really was my aha moment of this is what I've been doing all along. I'm not just a dietitian. I'm actually doing health coaching. I'm actually really curious about this person and what brought them in front of me, what brought them to this point. Now, thinking back to my 17-year-old self when I had an eating disorder, what actually brought me there? How did I get to that eating disorder? Why did I decide to starve myself? What were the limiting beliefs keeping me small? So now I was delving more into those communication skills, into those listening skills, into that curiosity. The best word that I can use for it is curiosity about this person and how they got to this point in their life in terms of their health and wellness. Because every decision we make is either taking us towards better health or poor health.
Okay, so from a clinical setting into more of a holistic approach, you then started to have more, and then COVID happened, started to have this more intuitive sense of, well, let's look at every layer from 20. Oh, here's an experience. I was 23. Here's an experience when I was 21, 28. What was I thinking then? Pros and cons. What can I learn from this? What was my beliefs then? Oh, that's an interesting one. Does it serve me now? Yes. Cool. No. Well, would you be thinking, and just for those that are interested, Kathy and I work together and we're always talking about 9 months, a year, 3 years. And Kathy has this really cool thing that she'll share that she does at the beginning of every year, which we'll give a shout out to Paula, which she helped kind of guide her here, which is awesome. So you've got this intuitive setting. What was this kind of like? You were like, okay, I've got something here, and you've started to then really take it leaps and bounds?
I didn't know, Carl. What happened was COVID hit and we were all in lockdown. And when you put a straight A student with 90 plus in everything in 4 walls, they will find something to study and do. So I turned to continuous professional development. I turned to doing my health coaching. I turned to doing hours of study about the gut microbiome. This is where I started to piece together how important the gut microbiome is in our health. And one of my biggest beliefs is that all health begins in the gut. And we have research that shows these correlations between gut health and all other disease. So I just started building a wealth of knowledge, and understanding the gut microbiome is also, if you're going to understand it, you need a holistic approach, because it's not just about dietetics. It's not just about nutrition. It's not just about what we eat. Although that is huge, we can impact our gut microbiome hugely through nutrition. It's also sleep. It's also stress management. It's also mindset. The research is there. And this is where I kind of went into that rabbit hole of gut microbiome. What is it? How do we actually optimize it? And that kind of a holistic approach. Still didn't know too much. I just started dabbling in it. I would call myself a dabbler at this point about the gut microbiome. For about a year or two, I was a dabbler until I really pulled all those puzzle pieces together and became the specialist that I am today. And then in terms of the health coaching, it was I don't know, maybe 3 month, I'm going to say 3-month course for part 1, and then an extra maybe 2 months for part 2. I'm not sure, but we got a lot of, it was online had a beautiful group setting and a lot of practicing. And it was very clear when I went into this course that I had a lot of that knowledge and I had already been applying it in private practice. I excelled at that course. And then after the health coaching course, that's when I started reading up more about the health coaching and wellness coaching and the mindsets, and started looking at those limiting beliefs and things. That's when I started looking at peak performance coaches, worldwide coaches who knew more than me, and started learning from them and also learning from the people that they learnt from. So to really tie everything together to become the holistic wellness coach that I am today.
Yeah. Wow. And we're almost there, just for those that are wondering. We're at 2021 now, 2020. Peak performance coaches, like, so you started to look at other professionals that you're like, they know more than me. Any like role models there? Anyone that really resonates and you probably still follow today?
Yeah, so I dabbled and I came across Tony Robbins. I looked at what he was doing. I looked at the people that he had on stage. Dean Graziosi. I don't even know how to say his last name, sorry.
His surname. Oh.
So I looked at kind of also Tony Robbins brings a lot of these people on stage who are across different industries. So he brought someone from the fitness industry. He brought someone from the health industry. He brought someone to speak about business, right? So I was looking at what are all these coaches doing? What do they specialize in? How do they present themselves? What do they actually know? What is the common theme? What are the fundamentals here? And it really comes back to NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. It comes back to those limiting belief systems. It comes back to how basically what we think about ourselves and how we view ourselves and how we view the world. So this is what I really love to tap into with my clients. What kind of identity have they created for themselves up into this point? Where are they stuck with their health and wellness, and who do they want to be in the future? Where do they want to be? What are the health outcomes that they want? And who do they need to be to become that person? What do they need to do along the way? What are the actions, the action steps? What are the tasks? What does that person from the future, your future self, do to be who they are?
So, okay, I want a beach body. I'm beach body Carl. I am the beach body man. I have beach body abs, beach body arms, beach body, beach body, beach body. Then, so it's not that simple. So then I have to think of actions of beach body Carl. Mm-hmm. So, I go to the beach. Beach body Carl would go to the beach an hour a day. So I start to go to the beach an hour a day. Is it that simple, or is there more to it?
There's more to it, absolutely. And that's why it's the holistic approach. So, and also, if you want to build a strong foundation and strong new identity for yourself, it's really important to address these things along the way so that you don't self-sabotage again, because you'll get to a level where you are Beachbody Carl, and then if you haven't changed your identity, if you haven't changed who you believe you are and what you believe you do as that person, you're going to self-sabotage and you're going to be back to Fat Cat Carl.
It's Cunty Cat Carl. Thank you very much. It's tipping pens over, throwing bottles. So But Kathy, I believe that I'm Beachbody Carl. So why would I self-sabotage?
So self-sabotage is getting into, this is more again into limiting beliefs, but also we self-sabotage. There is a positive intention to it. We are meeting some sort of a need that we have through self-sabotage. It is a unresourceful way of meeting a need that we have. So again, what I love to do with my clients, and this is coming along the lines of that coaching aspect, the NLP, looking at what is the need that you are meeting with this unresourceful behavior, and how can we actually meet this need in a resourceful way? Because there is a positive intention and purpose to everything that we do.
So I eat dark chocolate because I've heard it's good for me. It's got these, what we call antioxidants, that'll help with aging. So I can be Beachbody Carl for longer.
Mm-hmm.
So the positive is there, but it's throwing my calories off. So are you saying be more resourceful? So would that be like supplementing antioxidants, or having chocolate extract because it's got less calories, having it with water so it's hydrating, but also I'm getting all the benefits but without the calorie intake so I can stay leaner? Is it that what you mean by resourceful? Finding another way around it?
Yeah, being resourceful. And also, again, it's going to depend on where the consult goes. It's going to depend on the person. It's going to depend on the circumstances. But in that example, it is really breaking down, like, what is the goal? What is the vision? What do you want for yourself? How are you going to get there? What's more important for you right now? How are we going to make this, like, again, asking those questions of, what do you want your relationship with chocolate to look like? Because if you're getting through a block of chocolate a night and you want the beach body, is this really aligning?
It's an amazing relationship. Yes. Okay. So let's just rewind on that. So this is where we've kind of skipped a little bit, because this is where you are now, right? You asking these detailed questions, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. But 2020, we've been studying other professionals, Tony Robbins, all these guest speakers. 2021. Kathy's been locked down in 4 walls. She's like, well, fuck, I'm just going to study like a ninja.
Yeah, we just skipped the whole struggling in a relationship part. So that was 2021.
Done. Chocolate for everyone.
2021 was a really important year of my life because I was in a relationship, which I have a lot of gratitude for now because of the lessons that I learned. And ultimately, at the end of 2021, I walked away from that relationship because it wasn't aligned with my health and wellness vision of myself. It wasn't aligned with the future that I wanted for my future children one day. You know, I was surrounded by drugs and alcohol and smokers, and this vicious cycle of victim, perpetrator, and savior. And I was involved in a lot of drama, which I didn't want for my future. And I saw that if I stay there, I wouldn't reach my full potential. It was not an environment for me to reach my full potential. You know, there's that saying, when a flower doesn't bloom, don't change the flower, change the environment. So that's what I really did. And this is where I met Paula. So shout out to Paula Bernardich, PB Success Coaching, for finding me online. I did the challenge, How to Find Power Through Anxiety. And it was about 3 months later that I exited that relationship. But I really want to highlight that I didn't know that that was going to happen. When I spoke to Paula, my intention and my purpose, my intention was to actually work on myself to improve the relationship. So I was coming into this relationship really resourcefully with the new coach and working on how are we going to reconnect. And there was no progress being made. So ultimately, I chose myself over that relationship. And after seeing that my future children wouldn't have the best possible future, that's when I walked away. And it was the most difficult thing that I had to do. It was hard.
Mm. It's not easy to share that, so thanks. So, yeah, wow, tough. So you went into something to really build that relationship, but and didn't really get that over 3 months. You said something just a moment ago. Did Paula reach out to you, and then that's where it started, or did you reach out to her? Like, what was the point in time where you went, or she said something and you went, I should talk to her, or what was that point in time that you went, we should do this?
Our story is amazing. Paula and I crossed paths over the last kind of 5 years before we started working together on multiple occasions, just randomly. And she wasn't really doing what she's doing now. I wasn't doing what I'm doing now. And it was just bumping into each other and at random places. But when we went into lockdown and she was my friend on Facebook, she started running this challenge. The first time I saw it, it was March. It was March 2021. First time I saw it. And then I was like, this is pretty cool. I'm really interested, but I'm not going to do it. I'm busy with all this other stuff. And it was September 2021 when I saw the challenge reappear, being run again. And that's when I was like, you know what? We're in lockdown. I'm really overwhelmed. I'm working all these different jobs. I feel like my anxiety is really heightened at the moment. And the challenge is called How to Find Power Through Anxiety. And I was like, I'm going to do it. Let's see what this is about. Let's see if I can learn something that's actually going to help me.
What were you expecting before you started? You were like, I just want help and I'm just going to work on this relationship. And there was so much more.
So before I started the challenge,
yeah.
I really went in with an open mind of learning how to manage anxiety. And that challenge changed the trajectory of my life. Not only did I learn how to manage anxiety and how to sit with anxiety and how to acknowledge it and how to self-soothe, I also learned who my future self could be if I let her. That is when I meditated for the first time with Paula guiding us in meditation. And that is when I saw my future self for the first time, and I saw a beautiful mother holding her baby girl. And that image really stuck with me. And like I said, from that challenge, I started making all these changes, started realigning my behaviors, and that image stuck with me so much. That's why I wanted to work on the relationship. I wanted to be that aligned, beautiful, radiating mother. And I guess the way I understand it now is, there was no father figure there. It was just me holding my baby girl. There was definitely a presence. There was definitely a male figure presence felt. But looking back and really admitting to myself, I tried to force my ex-boyfriend into that image. It wasn't his energy. It wasn't him. So looking back, it's no surprise to me that I decided to walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got a lot out of that.
A lot. It's just such a beautiful challenge to be a part of. I flog it to everyone whenever I can when it's running. Absolutely recommended to all women to do it. If you have young daughters as well, it's so useful. Paula B, add her on Facebook, PB Success Coaching. And this is where our journey began. End of 2021 into 2022, I worked with Paula for a total of 18 months. And this is where I was doing a lot of self-study. This is where I started getting into the NLP. This is where I started joining the dots. It was about 6 months into working with Paula that I felt this shift in me from dietitian to wellness coach, to owning my knowledge, to owning my passion and my purpose, this is where I decided to dominate. This is where I grew the confidence that I have today. This is when my family moved to Perth as well.
And this is where Kathy went to reading 10 books a year to 100 books in 8 months.
Yeah. So, 12 months. It's been 12 months now. I've read about 120 books in that time. I'm going to slow down now because I feel like I'm a pretty well-rounded wellness
120, too many books. At least 99.
I call myself the walking, talking encyclopedia of health and wellness. If you asked me anything, I will probably have an opinion, and I could pull out a research study that's been done. And I will be really honest about where I found it. I truly believe that, none of it's my own knowledge. I'm learning from these great people, and I'm just absorbing like a sponge so that I can be that resource for my clients as well as for myself, because I love it so much. I'm applying these things in my own life. So I'm really, really big on practicing what I preach. I'm really, really big on realigning myself when I step out of whatever's going on, if I've kind of skewed myself, let's realign, let's recalibrate. And again, this is something that I learned through working with Paula, and I just love it.
And you've done it. We've done an anxiety challenge. We've then worked with Paula for 18 months. Kathy said she's flogged it to all the ladies, told everyone that they should do it. Kathy, that's a lie, and you know it. She's also flogged it to males. She flogs it to males.
Paula needs to adjust it so that there's a version for males. Absolutely. That would be great. Paula, there's an idea for you. I will
No. Just get your partner to do it. Sit beside the computer, listen in, do the exercises.
No, we can't do that. It's a very safe container. We don't encourage that. It's just for women. That's why it is so raw and vulnerable, because it's just women sharing their stories, and you get to learn from them, right? So the coaching that I did with Paula was 18 months of, it was fortnightly one-on-one sessions with Paula, but the weekly group sessions that I showed up for, weekly group sessions with the PB Success Tribe, filled with women of different ages. I learned so much from them, so much wisdom, so much lived experience from women who have been through divorce, from women who have been in a toxic relationship, from women who have successful businesses, from women who moved during that time, seeing them recalibrate, readjust, and cope with the changes that were going in their life and really build that resilience. I was learning from them and applying that to my life as I was going through the changes, because, when I came back, when I broke it off with my ex-boyfriend and came back home, my whole family decided to move to Perth. And I was like, well, hold up. I'm not going back to Merimbula. I don't know where I want to go. I just want to stay in Sydney and figure myself out a little bit. So for the next kind of 5 months, 6 months, helping my whole family move to Perth. And then for the next 6 months, which was 2022, July until the end, that's where I felt I was delving deep into peeling back those onion layers of myself, because I suddenly was living alone for the first time in my life. I had the space, I had the environment, I had the support network and the support system. I had you, I had Paula, I had started reaching out to David, my spirituality coach. I was really delving deep into who I am as a person and who I want to be, and applying the knowledge from all these different sources. And that's where my spiritual journey began as well. And I started expanding my spiritual views. And that's where the breast implant illness started to show more symptoms. And I started connecting all these dots. And ultimately, it led to the explant at the end of November last year.
So we've gone from 7, looking up tomatoes for antioxidants to protect against sun, to then coming back eating disorder, really observing others, being acknowledged and you kind of being told no, then finishing kind of following the footsteps of others. Then someone's like, nah, you got to do this because this is kind of what you're doing. So you've kind of been ebb and flowing between wanting to do something and kind of doing what others are doing. So following the crowd, then starting to realize by 23, 24, being told you're not going to have another job because you got too much energy. You should do this. Oh, okay. How's that work? So started to take this journey of, I don't know what's going on. And then working out, okay, health and fitness is a thing. I want to be a competitor. I've got the implants for it. I'll just do what they've got now. And then fast forward, COVID locked away. All right, I just do what I do best, study, and slowly shaping this dominator, the lady that decides what she wants, which is cool. But then everything, like family left, but you had a network and connections with Paula, David, myself, and others, and had really a safe space to be as vulnerable as possible. You really start to shape yourself. So not really, there's no one there going, you can't do that. Or if they did, you were like,
yeah.
To then going, this relationship doesn't serve the future me, and going, it's okay. It's not working. Let's just decide to part ways amicably. And then fast forward, I think you said end of 2022.
So that was first came the separating amicably, and then came the support system that I had and work on myself. Then came the part where I embraced my vulnerability.
Yeah.
I embraced my femininity, because up until that point, I was very masculine. I was very structure and routine, keep it all together, business, work for my father, make sure there's money coming through for the family. I still am very driven and motivated, but it's that masculine dominance kind of an energy and suppressing a lot of emotion, right? So in that relationship that ultimately didn't work out, I suppressed a lot of my emotions. I didn't voice myself. And over the last 14 years before that, I suppressed a lot of emotion, moving countries twice, saying goodbye to my friends at such young ages, at 7 and 14. And the environment that I grew up in, my family, I'm 100% Croatian, typical WOG. We were told to sweep our emotions under the carpet, get on with it, get tough. And I grew up in a male-dominated family with 3 blokes working on the building site. And my mum at one point also, I don't know her story, but at one point she started being more masculine than feminine as well. And that's what I grew up around and saw. So once I left that relationship, 2022, the beginning of 2022, January, that's when I really started delving deeper into working with Paula, embracing my vulnerability and getting unstuck and finding my purpose and my passion. And that's when I had you. We had already been working together for about a year. And that's where I think you would have felt it as well. There was this shift from being a wellness athlete to step on stage to being a wellness coach and wellness dominator, like you say, right? So really being the
wellness dominator. Yes.
Being the face and the name for wellness, not only on a bodybuilding competitor stage, but being this speaker, inspirational person. I don't know. Give us some words here. I'm looking for a word.
I think to say to this at the vulnerability point was, how Kathy and I met was to build her into a wellness competitor and do bikini. But probably 12 weeks out, when it's, Kathy was in good shape most of the year round, it was really just an easy process of bring the calories down, bring up neat, manage nutrients, and we'll crush it. But usually about 4 weeks in, whenever we got to the 40 to 50% cut, like I know personally, I get really like focused and like dialed in cognitively. I noticed with Kathy, cognitively, she would be, as you said, you were very sabotage. You would sabotage yourself, and it would all. Oh my god, I used to hate it. It'd always be like, fuck's sake. But obviously, I was professional. I was like, well, Kathy, why do we think this is? And eventually, like, I don't want to do this season anymore. I'm like, okay, well, what do we want to focus on? And you're like, I just want to be fucking strong. Okay, cool. So we bring calories up, and you really started to find, as you say, it's really interesting because we've talked about the self-sabotage really in a positive sense. Like, where were you going? And you've really just, I remember the third time actually, you were like, yeah, well, okay, this time we're going to do wellness. It's a new federation. I was like, Kathy, what is it you want long term? You're like, I just want to be fucking strong all the time. I'm like, okay, that's where we go.
Yeah. And that change in mindset that happened along the way was a huge precursor to the explant surgery, because ultimately it put us on the path of getting me stronger and building that pec muscle that was very important.
Come on, both of them. and back, glutes, delts, hamstrings. Always got to be back, delts, glutes, hamstrings. Now we're incorporating the chest and the arms.
Yeah, we love chest day now. So much better without the implants. But ultimately, building the pectoral muscle was actually very crucial for a successful explant surgery, which Dr. Eva Nagy really let us know and raves about. And she still talks about me in her private practice. And
she's only human, remember?
Yeah, and her receptionist as well, which is so beautiful to get women reaching out to me and for me to be able to share my experience with them and now refer them on to you because you're the man to build the pec muscles.
Yeah, see that. Why are we here? Build my pecs. I had someone go, I want to build pecs. Okay. Why? But how does it feel? So I don't want to skip the one step, which was like for weeks when Kathy decided to do explants, the amount of messages I would get, check out this article. Oh my God, can you believe that this isn't a thing? Can you believe that this 2-page document wasn't shared to me? What the fuck? And it's like weekly. And I'm like, it was interesting because I was like, wow, this is really interesting information. Like, why wasn't that?
The rabbit hole.
So, and then, you went and got it. And there was so much you felt you didn't know, which was really hard. So, I was kind of, for me at that time, I was always asking, what could I do to be better as a coach? And it was really, I remember Kathy going, oh, I've got my surgery this day. I was like, okay, I canceled my whole day and I actually did the surgery. I went to this surgeon with Kathy and they were like, why are you here? I'm like, because Kathy's going to want to train. And they're like, you can't train. No, Kathy's going to train. So it was quite comical because Kathy and I were like, all right, we'll train legs. And I remember the surgeon going, no. We're like, no, it's totally fine. Like, we'll walk up a hill and that'll train her legs and her pecs will be fine. The surgeon's like, if she gets to the bottom of the hill and can't get up, she's going to probably lean forward. And I'm like, oh, yeah, and she'll probably use her pecs. And we're both like, okay, Kathy can't train for 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am so grateful that you were there with me for that process. And so basically,
however, but remember, Kathy, they took them out and they were like, they're fine. And the surgeon wiped over it. And on the glove, the excess, and this is the leakage you were talking about. Like it was you got x-rays. There's no leakage. It's fine. And they got taken out and they had micro leakage all through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. So that scar tissue that's created around the breast implant, it is protecting us from the toxins that are harbored in the implant. So it's silicone, but 40 plus 50 toxins in the silicone. Saline, silicone, doesn't matter what type it is. They're all toxic. So yeah, the scar tissue that got sent off to the pathology showed micro leakages of silicone because the scar tissue is permeable as well. The silicone implants are permeable over time and the scar tissue is permeable as well. So ultimately that silicone would have been around my body as well. And that's what caused all these symptoms. And it also showed that I grew some sort of a bacteria in one of them and severe inflammation. Yeah, I grew a bacteria, some sort of a foreign bacteria.
The Kathy, whoa, bacteria.
So,
Bacteria. Oh my god.
before the explant surgery, I did my research properly because I learnt about breast implant illness. And I learnt about breast implant illness thanks to Paula. She did not know that I had breast implants. And I started complaining about these symptoms. And really, it was the inflammation and the lymph nodes that were really getting to me. My neck was swollen. I was feeling just run down, more fatigue. I had COVID, and then I had symptoms of long COVID kind of a thing, just this fatigue and brain fog. I remember complaining to you about it. I remember complaining to Paula about it. And just through conversation, I was like, oh, yeah, Paula, I've got fake titties. And then she kind of put one and one together because she has a friend who's been through it, the breast implant illness and the explant. And Paula just kindly, gently nudged me in the right direction and said, have you heard about breast implant illness? This is my friend Karina. Talk to her, do your own research kind of a thing. And I gave myself, I think, a week or two and really went down that rabbit hole of what is breast implant illness, what are the symptoms that women experience, what has actually been recorded. I joined the Facebook support groups, which have over 300,000 women per group, women who have been through explant or are going to go through explant support groups. And I informed myself about the procedure. I went to see Dr. Eva with you for that pre-op appointment. And then I started reading about detoxing. I started reading about what my body has been through and how can I support my body to get rid of this bloody micro leakage of silicone that is running through my system.
We're going to pause there because as just so there's no, we've created a bit of a series here in the podcast with Kathy due to her experience and expertise. This episode is just about the journey, and she's about to dive into the whole process. I can see it now. She's about to dive into it. What I want to do is we're going to pause, tune into the next podcast series, the next episode, which talks specifically on the explants itself, the whole journey there. But what I want to do is I want to wrap this up with Kathy, which is you've gone through this explant series, you've seen the doctor, but you've now made a decision to change your title and who you are, which is from the nutrition dietetics to now wellness.
Yeah. So the explant surgery, I feel like that was the final realignment that I had to do to really embrace the new identity of being a wellness practitioner, because ultimately very dear to my heart are teenagers and young adults struggling with eating disorders and struggling with body complexities and these transitional periods in life where we're going from high school into uni, from uni into the working force, or from high school straight to working. We don't really get taught how to take care of ourselves. We don't really get taught how to develop a strong mindset. And that's when I struggled most. That's when these things happened for me. And I want to step up on stage and speak to these young minds and young bodies. So to really do this, I felt that having breast implants, it didn't align with the image that I wanted to project.
It's a full realignment of purpose there. So from competitor looking, so from that's cool because like I like how self-sabotage was in a positive sense. You were going to step on stage, but really the shift is now I'm going to step on stage to really shape and educate people rather than give me a medal and feed that First of the year.
I didn't even pick up on that one. I really like that.
Yeah. All right, Carl. So the goal this year is we're stepping on stage again, but we're not going to drop my calories. Okay. Okay. Kathy, no. The question you should ask me, Carl, is how am I today? That's the only question. Yeah. Wow. Cool. What a journey there. What a shape. To finish this episode, how would you define a wellness coach, or how would you decide? So you've said kids growing up, the gap between finishing high school or college, going or uni into the workforce, the gaps in their health and well-being, or I'm seeing a guy on Instagram, I'm going to be here, and it's like there's such a gap there. What is the wellness coach? Where are you filling that gap, or how would we summarize this in a paragraph or two?
This is hard to summarize in a paragraph or two. So my role as a wellness coach and what I do, I help parents help their teens and their sons and daughters reach their full potential. I help people who feel unhappy and uncomfortable really transform their lives into becoming confident, courageous, and committed to their healthiest and best self in all circumstances, because life's going to happen. It's having those tools and it's understanding how to pivot. It's understanding why and how to realign for that greater purpose and for your peak performance. What is it that you want to achieve in your life? Anything that you want to achieve in your life, you're going to need your health. One of the sayings that we have in Croatian is just let there be good health in the new year, because if you don't have good health, you can't achieve anything else.
Yeah, well, amazing. Well, I think that's a great point for anyone that's interested in learning health and wellness and really wanting to get into peak performance and really work on their health. How does anyone get in touch with you if they're like, wow, I really want to get on top of this? I would love to build my education and really impart that onto my kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to me via Instagram, my website, newfitwellness.com.au. Send me an email, book in a discovery call, have a chat with me. Let me know what I can do to support you. You know, the other area is business as well. Like if you want peak performance in your business, you need to focus on your health as well. It all comes back to self. It all comes back to, just like my journey, it all comes back to focusing on self-healing so that ultimately you can reach peak performance and do what you do best in your life. For me, it is being that wellness coach. For someone else, it's having a multi-million-dollar business.
Amazing. Kathy, thanks so much for your journey and your story. Stories that have really shaped you into who you are today, and really being vulnerable to share, like, and hopefully people have made the connection of, like, you know, over those years where you were going, and really, like, the years you said. And like for me, self-sabotage, I used to think was always a negative connotation, like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh my God, I'm such a little weakling for eating that block of chocolate. You know, I should have, you know, I think of dodgeball, should sat myself, versus no, like think about it from a positive sense and really where you are today, which is amazing. So thank you for sharing. So for those that are listening, I hope you enjoyed. Reach out to Kathy O if you really want to get into peak performance, which should be all of us. So discovery calls. Now, do it now. Now. I believe in you as Kathy believes in you too. So tune into the next episodes where we're actually going to dive now into, we're going to play the word game. So we're going to talk about certain foods and see what Kathy says. Yep, she tilted her head. She has no idea. I literally thought of it because she's talked about nutrients and lysopan and antioxidants. What? So we're going to have fun with that. Then we're going to go into the I keep saying expat, but it's called the explant. Why, what, where, when, all those questions that we probably want to know. And men can get them too, people, in the calves, just so we're clear. It's works for everyone. Though, what are the side effects that maybe you're not aware of? I know for myself, I was never aware of these things. I also never used to think implants were a thing either. So I used to think there were heaps of women that had them naturally. So what are the side effects? Are there pros? We'll see. Tune in and adios, amigos. Hey, thanks so much for joining the episode of Table Talk today. We hope you found some helpful tips and inspiration in staying healthy and fit, even with a busy schedule. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Stay tuned for our next conversation. Until then, keep prioritizing yourself, your health, your fitness, and we'll see you on the next Table Talk.